What was that?
Yeah, take that, you jerk.
That was a minor inconvenience.
Yeah, well, that's the idea. Slowed you down.
I'll say.
So I just finished watching Superman 2025, and I have thoughts. Let's go over some of my thoughts, and no spoilers just yet. I'd like to just talk a little bit about how I felt about the movie and everything, and then we'll get into a little bit of spoilers later. Honestly, guys, I actually kind of like this. I thought it was a pretty decent movie. I'm pretty shocked. Was it a good film in and of itself? I don't know. I guess that's debatable because there's some things where it really did kind of miss the mark. I know what they were shooting for on some stuff, but then it fell flat and kind of made some missteps overall. But overall, I really did enjoy myself. I was shocked. I could not believe that a movie came out because I thought this was going to suck. I thought this was going to suck hard. And I don't think it was the best thing in the world. To be honest with you, on a second watch, and certainly after thinking it over and mulling things down, the aftertaste is kind of setting in. It's becoming more and more meh, if you want to say that. But still, on the first viewing, there were some beats in it, and the overall tone and the way the movie flowed, I just thoroughly enjoyed myself. And whether or not it's a good movie in and of itself, I'm not sure, but I will say that it's 100 times better than, what is it, Jurassic World Abortion or something? What was the name of that movie that just came out? Jurassic something Park something. Oh my god, don't go see that movie. That movie was crap. But I went and saw this, and I thought, well, this is better than that. How do, you know, it's certainly James Gunn. And it comes across as there were some themes from the Guardian stuff. You can definitely tell there's a uniqueness to James Gunn's style. And some of that worked in this movie, some of it didn't. So without spoilers yet, what's the good and what's the bad? Well, let me go back and forth a little bit here. What are the good things? Well, the number one good thing that is always good with James Gunn movies is the music. The music was great. The tone, actually, the Superman tone that came in the background, and then he doesn't miss a beat when it comes to including pop culture, different artists and different stuff in the scenes. He's really, really good at that, actually. Very good. And so that's one of the best things in the movie. I really enjoyed the music. When it comes to, well, let's get to the meat and the potatoes, you know, the story and the characters. There's good, and then there's bad. There was things I liked and things I didn't like. A lot of Superman in the movie. A very small amount of Clark Kent, but then the scenes with Clark Kent I thought were good. There's one scene in particular. You've seen it in the trailers, and he's on the farm already. That's a really good scene, and it sets up, and it's really good. And then some of the things we've seen from the trailers, with him kind of being whiny or emotional, it works better in the film. Still not the greatest, to be honest. I know what they were going for. I feel like James Gunn was really going for, hey, Superman is human, and a part of being human is being not emotional per se, but having faults, not necessarily knowing what to do, putting one step in front of the other. By the end of the movie, Superman gives a very miniature speech to someone, and I won't spoil it, but you can clearly see that's the tone. They're trying to communicate like, yes, Superman is a very deeply flawed human being, even though he's an alien. So I thought that there was a lot of stuff surrounding that I did enjoy. I felt like there was some decent chemistry, actually more so than I thought, between him and the Justice Gang, I think they're called. Green Lantern, Hawkgirl, Mr. Fantastic is the black guy. He was good. He was really good, actually. Mr. Fantastic, he's the guy with like the black cross on his face, and he's got the white and red jacket, and he's kind of floating around in this wheelchair or something. I liked him a lot in this movie. There wasn't a lot of screen time with Green Lantern and Hawkgirl. Hawkgirl sucked. But there was some decent, even, it was very brief. They're side characters. They're all side characters. But Mr. Fantastic had a lot more screen time, and he was pretty good. Even the other guy from the trailers, the guy Metamorpho, I think is called, he was not a lot of screen time. They're all side characters. The movie definitely surrounds Superman and what's going on. Him and Lex. It's him and Lex. Superman and Lex Luthor going back and forth the whole movie. They're the main characters. And Lois. Lois too. And everyone else is to the side. But there is a lot going on. And the movie has a pretty consistent pace. Like, it doesn't quit a beat. I mean, there was no real slow spots. I don't know if that's to its detriment, because there were some times where I feel like, man, maybe you could have slowed this down a little bit and maybe let this breathe a little bit more. But it certainly keeps you entertained. Like, the whole time I was watching it, I wasn't bored at all. Anyways, back to the characters. So yeah, Superman is a pretty interesting character. I've heard some people say that he's too emotional, that he cries a lot. I wasn't overly fond of the fact of how often he was beat. And there were some scenes where, like, through the whole movie, he's kind of down on his luck. And one thing, I was okay a little bit more with that. But one thing I wasn't okay with, that's a negative, is whenever he does get a win in the movie, they don't let it breathe. And it's short-lived. And then it's quickly met with, oh, you know what, no. Superman hasn't actually won the battle. Let's go back to keep fighting, and then he needs help. And Superman gets a lot of help from a lot of different people in this movie. As far as that goes surrounding Superman, overall, a pretty decent attempt as far as the character, as far as what he's trying to do, what he stands in. I've really felt like he came across as, you know what, this is a flawed guy trying to do the right thing. I thought it could have been better, but it really wasn't that bad. The negative is Lex Luthor. Now, a lot of people said the guy who's cast as him, the same guy who played Beast in the X-Men, I was not a fan of the casting. I'm like one of the few people. I know he's a good actor. But it's like, man, I remember Lex Luthor from the comics. He's like this big black guy. He's like this bald, not the comics, I mean the TV show, the cartoon. And so, I don't know if you can hear that. Someone just started up a lawnmower outside. Hopefully you can't hear that. Hopefully the sound is buffering. It was like, man, what the hell is that? I thought a plane was crashing. Anyways. But yeah, he's like this big black guy. He's like a thug. He's like the Kingpin and the version of the DC universe. And I was just, I saw this casting of this guy. I was like, man, he reminded me of the casting for Lex from the Batman vs. Superman. And man, that was the worst Lex in the world. This guy reminded me of that when he was cast. I was like, can we get like an older, more seasoned, wiser Lex Luthor, not this kind of snarky punk, That was my take. Well, when watching the movie, yeah, still my take, to be honest. Lex Luthor, he does some things in this movie where they try to portray him as a genius, and yet he does the stupidest stuff in the world. And, I mean, some really dumb plot points where I just don't understand. And overall, his motivation seems very sporadic. It seems very choppy. Again, the actor, I guess, did a decent job with the role. But man, his story was just whack. And I just didn't understand his motivation for half the film. And even though, I guess some scenes the guy was really trying to act his heart out, it just didn't quite land. I really did not feel the hits and the intimidation and the genius. There's only one thing that I thought, oh, that's actually pretty clever, the way they're going about that, a combat thing that he does to deal with Superman. And I thought that's kind of clever, actually. I like the way they're doing that. That was about it. And then the other negative thing, so those are the main characters. Lois was fine. I mean, I don't know, I guess she was fine. Really, one of the things is there's no message in this movie. Like, the message. There's no propaganda that I could see. There's no wokeness. Thank God. There's no feminism. The only thing that I would say is what I was about to get onto, is there's this kind of side plot with, like, these two countries going to war, which made no sense. I mean, you could have taken it out of the movie. I was like, what is this even doing here? But it's totally not Ukraine and Russia. You could say that they're trying to do an analogy for that. But a lot of people were afraid They were saying some bullcrap on the red carpet about, yeah, Superman's an alien, and there's a lot of imagery about, undocumented citizens, and everyone is, and we're a nation of immigrants, that, progressive propaganda, you're racist if you disagree. They were saying a lot of that stuff. None of that's in this movie. They mention how Superman's an alien, and there's one scene where he talks about his rights. It really doesn't feel out of left field at all. It never felt like, oh, they're preaching at me. So there's none of that. There's no feminism. There's actually some hot chicks in this movie. Shockingly, most of the women in this movie are actually like, wow, they're not these bland, homunculized, amorphous blobs. They're actually like, wow, that's actually a woman. So I was impressed that they would do this. There's, as we saw in the trailers, there's kissing between a man and a woman. There's no two dudes or two chicks tongue in it or something, or the classic, leaning on each other's head. No, there's actually romance. There's a few scenes that got me a little bit. I was like, oh, that's kind of sweet. I know that's gay to say, but oh, that's kind of sweet. So Lois was fine. She was never a damsel in distress, and that's okay. But she never came across as this snarky, nasty. There wasn't any of that. So really, overall, the characters, aside from Lex, she was fine. And then all the side characters, they just had miniature parts. Like I said, the movie was flying by. I really do feel like if they slowed a few parts down. But there was a lot going on. You had the Justice Gang, you had Superman and Lois, you had what Lex was doing. Then, as I mentioned, you had this whole side plot of this other country stuff. So there was a lot going on, and we know all that from the trailers. All those bits and pieces from the trailers. What are some of the other negatives? Well, as I mentioned, that side plot. That was stupid, and I thought that was dumb. As far as characters that go, and the story, because it kept flying by, and because of that side plot, and because of Lex's motivations, it really did feel a bit choppy. There were some nice scenes that made sense, but the story overall felt pretty choppy. And I think if you went through it with a fine comb on a second viewing, you would really just be like, some of this is kind of stupid. The action was good. I liked most of the action. I thought some of it towards the end of the movie was getting a little over the top in a way. People kind of complained about the whole Man of Steel stuff, about them crashing through the buildings and destroying stuff. One of the big concerns about that was all the people who died. Well, in this movie, somehow, we see it in the trailers, buildings falling and stuff. There is something that happens towards the end of the movie, and it looks like it's destroying the whole city, and somehow they evacuate the city. And there's like, I swear, throughout the whole movie, there's one person I think that dies. I mean, it's incredible, and the amount of things that are destroyed. And so some of it was, I was just watching it on screen, and I'm just thinking, like, how are they going to do a second movie? Like, it's the whole world going to blow up. You know what I mean? So some of that was a bit far-fetched. Some of the things of how did you get away with no casualties? You got all this stuff, even like the other scenes with like the monster in the trailer. I'm like, really? No one died from that. There's a lightheartedness when it comes to James Gunn's films. You see it in the Guardians movie. I think this movie could have used a little bit more depth. There's a lot of lightheartedness in this movie, and because of that, I do view it as a bit of a negative at times, because it feels like there's no stakes. Even when everything like is being destroyed, it's just like, oh, no one's in, it's just buildings, it's fine. And it's just like, what? So it didn't feel like there was a whole lot of stakes, even when there's these massive events going on. So there's all that. And then there's the dog. So, but other than the action, the effects were good, and then some of the fight scenes were good. I wasn't a fan how Superman always needed saving, but I was a little bit more okay with some of that stuff. Again, they really were trying to humanize him in a degree. So unfortunately, his powers were a little bit all over the place sometimes, and how stuff was affecting him. But overall, I did enjoy most of the action, more or less. It wasn't the best thing in the world. It wasn't anything like, I don't know, one of my favorites, like Captain America, the Winter Soldier, or Captain America, Civil War, or even in Infinity War, or even in the warehouse Batman scene in BVS. Not as good as that. But it was passable. A lot of CGI. And then there's the dog. Crypto was hit or miss. There were some things that kind of got annoying to where he was playing up for jokes, and it's just like, this is getting a little annoying. But then there were some scenes, especially towards the end, there was one payoff scene that kind of set that up, and I thought, oh, okay, well, that's kind of nice. I like that. He wasn't as annoying to me as some people, but he is certainly throughout the movie consistent person, you know, kind of back and forth, and consistent being, creature, or whatever. And I thought, okay, well, he's not my favorite character. It's hit or miss with the dog. Like when you see Crypto and you see him on screen and he's doing stuff, you may feel like, okay, this isn't bad, or it's really understandable if you're one of those people and you're just like, I hated that part. You know, because there were some parts for me I was like, this is annoying. Overall, a step up from mediocre. I don't think it's meh. I think if I watched it a second or third time and really dissected the movie, I might feel like, okay, this is kind of meh. But after just watching it once and, you know, critiquing it and being, you know, kind of trying to be objective and stuff and just be like, okay, what are they doing here? I was surprised and I did enjoy it, and I thought, this isn't bad. From all the trash. Now, maybe it's all the trash that we've gotten recently, but I certainly, when you compare with all this, not bad. So I would recommend it. I really would. I don't know why they didn't release it on the 4th. That was so stupid. I wish there was a little bit more, I don't know, truth, justice, and the American way. They never say that in the movie, and so that sucks. But we'll see how it goes. So I would recommend it. I would say go check it out once if you don't have anything better to do. It's certainly better than watching that stupid Jurassic Park movie. And so those are my overall thoughts non-spoiler. Now, let me run through a few spoilery things real quick. So this is your warning. Did you guys know that for most of the people watching YouTube videos, only a small percentage of those people are actually subscribed to those channels? But subscribing is really quick and easy. All you have to do is first to make a YouTube account, which is free, and then after that, go down to the video that you're watching, hit the like button, which goes a long way in helping out the algorithm, and then go over and hit the subscribe button. After you've hit the subscribe button, click the drop down arrow and click the option that says all, so that can notify you whenever a new video from this creator has dropped. Subscribing is free, and making a YouTube account is also free. It allows you to keep up with all of your favorite content creators, and of course it goes a long way in helping out my channel, and I really do appreciate it. So with all of that being said, back to the video. So basically the overall plot of the movie, and this is the weakest part about the movie, it's the plot, and it's what Lex is trying to do, and some of it is just so choppy. Basically, Lex hates Superman because he's this alien from an outer planet. He hates all the metahumans, but for some reason Superman is the worst. They don't really do a good job of explaining the hatred of Lex Luthor towards Superman. They don't do that. It's just like, no, he's just the worst. He's the most powerful. He's the worst. Lex tries to fabricate this not a civil war, this war in this other country that's totally not Ukraine and Russia, and he tries to become a king, and he's he's using money to I'm tripping on my words here, but he's, you know, a lot of stuff behind the scenes, like he's paying people off, he's got dictators in his pocket, and he's doing something with this war. I didn't understand. I was like, what are they doing? What is this? What does Lex hope to gain out of this? And some of it involves, like, there's a superhero from this other country, but it's actually a clone of Clark Kent, you know, of Superman, and he suits up to be this hero of this other nation, and Lex uses that to try to put Superman in this really bad political spot in the media because Superman is interfering in this war. So the media hates Superman, and there's this scene where there's all these monkeys typing online all this propaganda about Superman. So it's all about making Superman look bad. Lex has somehow created a pocket dimension, and it's a new dimension, and he has all these access points to this pocket dimension across the world. And he has people enslaved in this pocket dimension, and that's where all the monkeys are and stuff. And his plan, I guess, is to frame Superman, make him look bad, then get on the government side so the government gives him permission to kill Superman. Lex then becomes the hero who saves the day. It all falls apart towards the end. Superman does get captured and put in this pocket dimension, but it was really stupid because Metamorpho's in there and his baby's in there and stuff. And he puts Metamorpho in Superman's cell because Metamorpho can make kryptonite. But then the moment Metamorpho stops making kryptonite, Superman just breaks him out. It's just like, because the baby's just like right there and the cell across from theirs. And I was just like, why did you set it up that way, Lex? So when they break out, Lex is like pissed and stuff. So anyways, all that's going on. End of the day, this pocket dimension gets out of control and starts ripping the entire world in half. All of Metropolis is just split in half. I'm just like, how did all these people evacuate? What are we doing? It's silly. That big monster that we see in the trailers, it's just a distraction. One thing I liked about Superman, which I would not generally like in a character, because I think it's gay, but I like it in Superman. I do. He genuinely in this movie comes across as having a love for all things that are alive. Some of it went a little far, but he goes out of his way to save people. When anyone is in danger, he really goes out of his way. Like, and it's so funny because the stupidest part is, yeah, these big natural catastrophes, like the monster and buildings falling and stuff, and there's always just one person, just one person who's in danger. Superman will save them, though, and they make a point. He even saves a squirrel. I'm not kidding. There's a squirrel that's about to die, and Superman flies by and saves the damn thing and puts it to safety. And he cares about Crypto, and he puts himself in danger and gets arrested and put in that pocket dimension just to save Crypto, because Lex steals Crypto. The monster, the big monster that's destroying the city, Superman wants to capture it and kind of see if they could study it and put it in a zoo. Doesn't end up happening. The Justice League kills it, or the Justice Squad, what are they called? The Justice Gang. They kill it. But they're friends with Superman, and there was a very brief but decent chemistry here or there. There's kind of a dick measuring contest between Superman and Green Lantern. It's very brief, but the scenes that they were on there, I did like. A lot more of Mr. Fantastic, I think his name is, the black guy. I really liked him in this movie. I really did, way more. Hardly saw him in the trailers, but he's good. So yeah, and that's it. I mean, and they end up stopping the world from being ripped in half. Lex Luthor gets found out of starting the war over here in this other country, and Superman, one of the things that Lex does try to do is he tries to take this message from Superman's parents, Kal-El and whatever her name is, that they sent him from, after they were died, and Lex decrypts the second half of this message that was messed up, and basically the parents are like, Superman, go to Earth, rule people, they're stupid, take over them, create a harem, and then repopulate with your genes and stuff. And oddly enough, they never disprove the message, so I guess Kal-El's, or no, Jor-El is Superman's dad. Kal-El is Superman, so I guess Superman's parents, his original parents, are like psychopaths. I guess. But his mom and dad here, Martha Kent and what's Superman's dad's name? It's not John. Why am I blanking on his name? I'll think of it later. But the farm parents, they're good. They're really good. They're real old fashioned, just kind of these old Kansas, farmers, and they were good. I like them. So at the end of the day, Superman gets cleared. Everyone who was afraid of him and thought he was there to conquer the Earth, all the it's all gone. Propaganda's gone. Lex is found out, gets arrested. The gang is saved. No one dies. There was one person who died, and it was the prime minister of one of those warring nations that was working for Lex, and Hot Girl straight up murders him. Hot Girl, which sucked, she was worthless, but she captures him, flies in the sky, and just drops him and kills him. He's like, you won't kill me because you're not Superman. And she's like, oh no, he says, you won't kill me because you're with Superman, and Superman won't kill me. You're like Superman. And Hawker's like, I'm nothing like Superman, and she just drops him. They bad casting. She comes across as a millennial. She's young. It's not good, but she's barely in the movie. That's the only person I think died. I'm not expecting a lot of death in a Superman movie or anything, but again, the stakes. It felt a little light. It felt a little lighthearted. That's the overall major plot, more or less. It's just kind of choppy. Lex hates Superman. He does this, and that. Things get out of control. Pocket Dimension takes off, starts ripping the world in half. Superman and Mr. Fantastic really save the day. And that's it. I mean, there's this subplot with Superman and Lois. Their relationship it felt organic enough. They're kind of on the rocks. They fight a little bit. They don't agree on certain stuff. But at the end, they had a decent amount of chemistry. When I watched them together, I never felt like they just lacked no chemistry. I never felt that way. I thought, you know what? It's believable. It's not too shabby. And, they get together at the end, and she says, I love you back. And it was nice. It was sweet. It was, romantic. And I like that. There were scenes where characters, I guess just because there was so much going on. Like, there were people at the Daily Planet, and they all kind of band together at the end, and they're like, all right, let's jump in Mr. Fantastic's ship and get away from the world breaking in half and send out this article and do this. And it's like, up until that point, there's like 3 people, one really hot chick, but 3 people in that ship. It's like, I don't even know who you guys are. You're barely in the movie. And then Jimmy, is that the other reporter, the friend of Superman at the Daily Planet? He's like this love magnet. And then they have this other plot with him and this blonde chick who is like Lex's girlfriend, and she ends up giving information away. It was kind of quirky, but I thought, I guess this is fine. I mean, it fit the overall tone of the movie, that's for sure. So yeah, and there's just a lot of moving pieces. But the weakest part about this film is Lex's plan. Lex, not his acting, the guy who was acting him. But I just think he was miscast, though, to be honest. But his plot, the plot and why he hates Superman, what he does, Lex is the driving force through this whole movie. He moves the plot along for him just trying to kill him, but then not trying to kill him, and trying to frame him and make him look bad, and use all these other heroes and stuff that's going on. And it is the driving force, but it's just choppy. It just felt so choppy. It's just like, what are we doing? Well, you could have really simplified this in a lot easier way. So yeah, I mean, good and bad, things to take away, other things, then there's the villains, of course. There's, I want to say Black Noir, but isn't that the guy from The Boys? Or is that from DC? I don't know. He's the fake clone Superman. He dresses up as the foreign hero, beats the hell out of Superman. Then he's in Black Noir thing. They fight later on. Really does beat the hell out of him again, but ends up getting sucked in this dimension. Then there's the girl who can just change her stuff and the blades and stuff, like the symbiote stuff or whatever. She's lived, I guess. Oh yeah, so the clone died. I wonder if they'll turn him into like Bizarro or something, because he is a copy of Superman, and then he's gonna go to this other dimension or whatever. I don't know. They could do that. And so, but then there's the chick. She seemed overpowered. It's like, how are you keeping up? And she like uses her stuff to choke Superman. It's like, how come he is not more dominating this fight? Even against her. So there was that. And then at the end of the movie, which was stupid, Supergirl shows up. At the very end, last 2 minutes, she shows up, wasted out of her mind, and she was partying on some other planet, and Crypto is her dog. I thought, whatever. I mean, I feel like I remember watching the cartoons, and when she first shows up, she's kind of... I don't know if she was like that, but she was definitely unruly, and Superman Clark... he really had to kind of rein her in a little bit. It's like, no, you need to chill out. I remember things like that. I wasn't a fan of that scene, though, in the movie. I just thought, I don't know. This really does feel like kind of a new age Superman. Like, there's some old-fashioned stuff going on, especially around him, where he does come across as more old-fashioned, good morals, doesn't cuss, you know, things like that. But then there's other stuff in the movie that really feels new aged modernity, like the girl taking selfies and stuff, and just this overall kind of quirky lightheartedness that it was fine, but and then in other times it was just like, okay, especially when she showed up at the end. So there's all of that stuff. But yeah, that's really the spoilers. Those are the cliff notes, to be honest with you, more or less. Like I said, I would recommend this movie. I'm not even a gung-ho Superman guy. I'm a Spider-Man guy. I like Spider-Man. Those are amazing. But I like Superman, you know, and all that kind of stuff. And I feel like this was a decent attempt. I think they didn't quite stick the landing, to be honest. And for people who pick it apart, once you really do go through this with a fine comb, I think you're going to start seeing some really big, like, wow, why did they do this? Why did they do that? This is stupid. That's stupid. This is stupid. But if you go into it, you just watch it once. You don't think too hard about it, I guess. You will enjoy it, I think. I think there's some decent points in this movie that's like, I saw what you're going for, and I do kind of like that. So those are my overall thoughts. I'd love to know what you guys think. Have you seen it? If you have or if you haven't, let me know your thoughts in the comments. What did you think? Do you agree with what I'm saying? Do you disagree? Let me know. And please don't forget to hit the like button and the subscribe button and the bell icon to be notified when my new videos drop. Really do appreciate it, guys. And of course, until next time.